Hey everybody, it's Rob here. The Diablo 4 PTR is starting in just a few days and I want to show you one of the builds that I'm most excited about to test. This is the Earthquake Barbarian. We have received a ton of buffs. The planner is already up to date. I'm going to put this one below here. We have a new chest that basically creates a good synergy between Hoda and Earthquakes. And this is essentially the combination that we are playing. The tech rune is also getting a massive upgrade, getting double damage, and the requirement is getting cut in half. And it's already a very strong rune right now. On top of this, we receive multiplicative earthquake scaling here. Our earthquake damage is going to be increased by 25% for every 100 strength that we have. And we usually have 2,000 to 3,000 strength, especially if you have strength on your amulet here that you can also masterwork, making it very, very strong. And we're getting two new aspects on top of this. This is the Incendiary Fissures, which gives another 50% earthquake damage or double on a two-hander. We're getting the Decisive Resolution here, also giving another 1.3 after we're casting ultimates. We're getting a buff to the base earthquake aspect, and we're getting a buff to the Bulkatos aspect, now also increasing our earthquake damage multiplicatively. So you can see there is a lot of stuff here that basically comes together that makes this build extremely strong. And I want to show you what this build can even do right now in the current game. So we're just like normally in game here. Like I don't even have like the right setup. We're doing some dual wielding stuff in the end. We're not going to do Ramalaldi. We're not going to do lock runs, but we don't even have all these new aspects here. But I just want to show you like roughly here, like how the damage already looks like. When this build basically gets blasting, you see they have 500 million already like per earthquake ticks. And we can't even take the earthquakes and deal them as direct damage because that new unique chest is not even in the game yet. But you can kind of see here like how crazy the DPS is. You see these ticks. They already go up to like 500 million, like between 20 and 500 million on all of these ticks here. Already pretty insane there, another 600 million damage. And to my calculation, this damage is gonna be more than 20x. So we're looking at double, triple digit billion already, which we can then basically, instead of rent here, which will basically then Hoda away, triggering these earthquakes immediately. So there is a couple of cool combinations that you can do. We're going to mostly use the planner to show you what we do here, but I'm also going to show you some stuff in game. So we're basically focused on having as low cooldown as possible. And the reason we do this because we have the Yal rune here, giving us 50 offering whenever we cast any skills with a cooldown. So this includes like all our shouts and also our ground stomp and our Call of the Ancients. There's also a version where you can use Leap instead of Ground Stomp to trigger Earthquake, and Leap is also a cooldown spell, basically triggering the tech rune like crazy because you only need 50 offering and it gives you 50 offering per cooldown. So every shout that we do is gonna basically spawn one Earthquake baseline, and then we use chance for Earthquake to cast twice on one weapon, and we can get 100% if we masterwork this on a high roll. So basically every shout will create 2 earthquakes in the next patch. Every ground stomp will create 4 earthquakes because we get a ground stomp baseline from the earthquake aspect, and then we're gonna double it, so that's gonna be 2. And then ground stomp is also a cooldown spell triggering the tech rune, which gives another earthquake, which is again doubled because we have 100% chance. So ground stomp, 1 ground stomp, next patch we will spawn 4 earthquakes. And then instead of rent, we will just have Hoda all the time, and we'll basically just cast Hoda and hold all of our other skills on cooldown. And our ground stomp also instantly resets our Call of the Ancients, which basically triggers another 2 earthquakes. So this is like Earthquakeception, gonna go completely crazy with the cooldown spam. You can do the same with Leap, like ground stomp or Leap, I'm not sure which one. I think overall ground stomp is a little bit better because it also reduces your Call of the Ancients cooldown, but we can also try the same thing with Leap. I'll probably make a second planner. This one is a ground stomp version right now. We can maybe also make a second planner with Leap. I'll probably add that one in here as well later on. But it'll be basically just pick Leap, and then you're gonna pick the Leap cooldown reduction on the ring, the Giant Strides. But I think ground stomp might be the strongest because of your ultimate resets. And whenever you reset your ultimate, like we can also activate this one here very frequently. You guys can already see this. I cast one ultimate, I can cast Ground Stomp, and then I can reset my Ground Stomp and cast the ultimate again, you know, and so on and so on. Like basically, if you're doing this right, like you'll never even have any cooldown on anything, you know, like you can just like keep spamming like all your ultimates and like basically just keep blasting all the skills if you press them in the right order. So there's gonna be so many active cooldowns going on. So what we're rocking for, this is a Harlequin's Crest, obviously with cooldown reduction 54. Then you need the Ground Stomp cooldown reduction on the pants, and you also need the cooldown reduction for Call of the Ancients, plus the Bolt's Chieftain at 30%. And this one basically allows you to have 75 cooldown on Ground Stomp, 75, which is always the cap on all the shouts, and 75 cooldown on the Call of the Ancients, essentially making it castable with just a few seconds delay. And then we are basically adding all the different damage multipliers. So Harlequin's Crest is necessary for this setup. I think there might be some endgame setups of all Harlequin's Crest because they do buff the Ugly Bastard. They do buff this a lot to double damage. So maybe there is an endgame setup where we can get rid of the Shaco and still solve for cooldown efficiently. But we'll see and we'll test that on the PTR. For now, I think Harlequin's Crest is very strong and a very good way to scale your damage. Then the Mantle of Mountain's Fury, this one you want to masterwork the chance for Earthquakes to deal double damage. Fist of Fate with crit chance here, big multiplier. Bulkatos here, this one gives damage reduction and also damage, 25-25, plus the Ground Stomp cooldown. Then we have either Daze or we can play Wild Bolt for the pulling effect. I'm not quite sure which one we take yet. Obviously, if you want to play Leap, you must have Leap cooldown here instead of Earthquake, instead of movement speed, and masterwork that. However, right now we're playing Ground Stomp. Then we have the Aspect of the Earthquake. So here we have chance for Earthquake to cast twice. Earthquake duration elements. And then here we're playing the new Incendiary Fissure, double damage. And a new one here that they also rework is Heavy Hitter. And what Heavy Hitter will do, it is also going to buff your Earthquake damage multiplicatively. Here you can see ultimate skills, Earthquakes, and Dust Devils for Heavy Hitter. And Heavy Hitter can also be rolled on the two-hand weapon. And that's essentially what we do here, Heavy Hitter. And you guys can see here, it's going to be very similar to the Ravenous. You can get 12 ranks to Heavy Hitter on one of your 200 weapons. Right now I'm playing Grandfather because this weapon is not a variable. But even with this, I'm already doing 500 million damage for the Earthquakes at peak. So Heavy Hitter will give you 12 times this 15% X damage. And that will result, I did some calculations here, in like a 3.25 multiplier if you choose to go with that. And then we can also scale Earthquake duration. That's why we don't go Grandfather, we don't go Normalaldi. Earthquake duration now is a direct multiplier because we can take all this Earthquake damage over time and proc it with the Hoda in an instant, dealing like billions and billions and maybe even trillions of damage. We'll see exactly how many Earthquakes we can consume at the same time. And we will also see if this can crit or if this can overpower. Like, we don't know exactly how the mechanics of these new chests work, but this is going to be very exciting. And the build can already do Pit 100 right now. And I'm estimating that we're going to get roughly 20, maybe even up to 40 tiers in damage, depending on the final mechanics. So this is going to be a very strong build to push like well above 130, I think, with the Barbarian. And some mechanics are unclear. And also the Witchcraft Claws, I added some random ones. They all are in here. Same for the Dust Zone, Killing Wards and stuff like that. So then we're also rocking the Aspect of Decisive Resolution. Like after casting an ultimate skill, we basically have this 1.3 multiplier up all the time. We're rocking Starless Sky because we're going to be spamming our Hoda all the time. We don't really have a good way of overpowering, but sometimes we'll randomly overpower. And maybe we'll even add something that makes us overpower like every 12 seconds or so. We'll see, because overpowering would also mean that we spawn additional Earthquakes here with this amulet, where we have a scaling for 25% of our strength as damage. And right now in game, you see I already have 3,500 strength, and I don't have a percent damage, percent strength amulet. So if I decide to masterwork this one on the PTR and get a triple crit on the strength, we're gonna probably be rocking 4,000 strength. And that's basically gonna double it, because it gives us normal skill damage, and it's also gonna give us the new skill damage from the Executioner aspect. Then Bolt's Chieftain here, Call of the Ancients cooldown. Also chance to keep the enemies vulnerable together with Ground Stomp and Fist of Fate. This will be permanently basically. And yeah, we're gonna have a ton of damage. You also must scale a bit of close damage. I don't know if I have all that here. So you must have enough close damage for your final Paragon node here. Because this also gives you, I don't have it right now, but this also gives you up to 2.5x DPS for your Earthquakes. So just keep in mind that you get that as well. And you want to have enough Berserking damage. So I think right now I need to at least change one of the rolls to close damage. We'll just see. You need to have the cap on close and the cap on Berserking for your Blood Rage. Skill tree would look something like this. So we have Bash, Hammer of the Ancients with Ra Path Overpower. This one won't trigger all too much, so it doesn't really matter if you max it instantly or not, because right now we're just like randomly overpowering very rarely. I'm pretty sure there is some ways to overpower that we could use here at some point, but for now we're just relying on the random chance, and we need to just use Hoda all the time to just get our chest procs to instantly consume the Earthquake damage. We max Ground Storm for big cooldown, cooldown reduction for ultimate, all the defensive stuff. We get Fortify from strategic. We have Challenging Shout. We don't really actually need like Fury generation, so this rune here is not even necessary. We can probably take it here. One in here for bleed procs, full war cry, booming voice, aggressive resistance. Now here No Mercy gives you crit chance. They also buffed Slaying Strike, Pit Fighter, counter-offensive, full juiced in Call of the Ancients. This one is also going to give us movement speed and DR. Then you want to juice Heavy Hitter, of course, Heavy-Handed, Wallop, and also the Unconstrained here for big DPS. We're going to be berserking all the time, because you guys can already see here my shout is just permanent. So if I press R, you see my berserking is 4 seconds, and then I can just like press R again and get it again, and just keep pressing R, because we have this 75% shout cooldown reduction, as you can see here, 11.51 seconds, going completely crazy. Very strong. Paragon board, I might still do changes to this. So we could play, for example, Dominate instead of Exploit. But this would be like an overpower source, but only every 15 seconds. So the uptime is like 33%. Still decently, but like for now, we're rocking Exploit. We're rocking Territorial here with Warbringer. Now this one could also be changed to either Bonebreaker or the, what was the other one that they buffed? We'll have to see exactly like how these will work on the PTR. But yeah, we could use Bowbreaker for the guaranteed overpower, or we could even use Weapon Master for extra DPS against healthy and injured. We'll see about this. For now, because I'm playing Ramalaldi, I needed to play this. On the PTR, we'll most likely change this left board here. But what's very important is Territorial, again, to get the close damage for the Force of Nature. I'm also rocking Martial here in the Force of Nature board. I can show this to you in-game because it is multiplying. So you see Force of Nature with Martial, because it is multiplying those close damage nodes. And again, they are a separate multiplier that is kept to 150%. Then, of course, we're rocking Decimator. There's actually a point missing here. But yeah, we're rocking Decimator with Challenger for big multiplier. And we are rocking Rumble here, 115 strength and range with Blood Rage. This one is probably the most important one because it just gives us a crazy multiplier. And you guys can see here that we are getting 1400% Earthquake damage. So yeah, all in all, guys, I think this is actually going to be a very strong build. We'll see how it's going to end up in the end. But I'm thinking this is going to be a true powerhouse of builds, especially if we can keep up all the buffs. And you need to see like how much stuff we actually need to press here in order to like blast all our skills. But the DPS speaks for itself, I believe. And we'll see. In terms of Excel sheet, I'm going to link this below. This is just like some napkin math here on some stuff. I think we're getting about a 36%, 36x DPS multiplier. Calculating Heavy Hitter, Executioner, Earthquake Aspect, Bull Katos. And there's even more, there's probably even more buffs here in total if you go over the Paragon board and over, you know, some of the aspects that change. I didn't calculate it exactly. But we're getting somewhere between 20 and up to 50x damage, and this build can already do 100. We have 90 million damage ticks, and I'm being like pretty conservative here because attack rune is also going to double, and I think the earthquake base damage is also going to double. So we might have another ×2 here. But you can see we're taking 90 million, multiplying this by the conservative number, which is x16. Then we're calculating the duration, which is roughly going to be 12 seconds. I think it's actually going to be a bit more. Earthquake base is 6 seconds. You can have a max of 10 active, so you need to consume them all the time with your holder to deal the maximum DPS. But you guys can see here, like the max hits are like way higher because we have Fist of Fate. So I think the average hit is even higher right now. So I'm very conservative here, and I think our total holder damage per quake, like when we consume the quake, is like somewhere around the double-digit billion range. It could be like 30, it could be 100 billion in the end, and then we are basically spawning. I think it's even more than 4 quakes per second. Again, I was pretty conservative here. I think it's actually more, and that means we're doing about like 150 billion, potentially even more if we have overpower, if we have our holder up, and so on and so on. I think it's rather more. I think we might actually do like definitely a couple of billion damage per, like triple-digit billion damage per second. That's the theory here right now. And again, you can also, you know, play this variant with Leap. We'll see what exactly is there going to be. The planner is going to be in the description, my friends, and I'm probably going to make a Leap version right now and add it to the planner. But this is one of the builds I'm super excited for come PTR here on Tuesday. Right after, guys, we'll jump into Path of Exile 2, but I'm really looking forward for the D4 season as well. End of January. Hope you enjoyed, my friends. BARB Nation, let's go. BARB strong again. Hope so. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.